Okay. So we are for this video we're installing a bunch of stuff that's going to help us set up our project, and just as like a little teaser, we're installing Node, we're installing npm, which come together, nvm, and I think yarn, and those will like help us get into it. So let's get going. So I think first we need to install NodeJS, which is it's like a server-side port of JavaScript. So to do that, we'll use Brew, I think. So you have Brew. So just do brew install node.
It's kind of wild to me. So there's like some sweet code on the internet that I need on my computer to enable us to build this web project, and now my computer's doing some fancy stuff to go get it.
Exactly. Yeah. Just kind of spewing out some logs that really doesn't mean much to me. But
and you said you said Node.js. This is just Node. Node.js and Node are sort of synonyms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Node.js and Node are the same thing. Node is just Node is like the command, or it's just like a short way of saying it, but it is technically Node.js, or like
a JavaScript package called Node for building web apps.
Yeah, exactly. And Node, like, if you can think, like, JavaScript is a web language and it was built for browsers, right? And so like traditionally is only used in a browser, but Node you can use outside of a browser. So that's like sort of the difference. Like Node you use in a terminal or whatever, and it allows you to write scripts that are outside the browser. And a lot of times it can be used as like both a back-end language in addition to your front-end language, which is the browser.
Love it. And I now am the proud owner of one of many copies of Node on my computer. So here we are.
Yeah. And I think, so to check that you have it installed, you should do node-v.
Which asks for the version of it, which 16.00. That's nice.
So yeah, we're on the bleeding edge depending on when this video is being watched. I think 16 actually was released like this week. So
cool.
Let's do, so one thing that also comes along with Node when you install it is called npm, and is in Nancy PM, and that's short for Node Package Manager, which
can I check that version?
Yep, it's nice. Yep. So that is like kind of bundled with Node, and if you kind of break down those three words, it's like a package manager for Node. So it like allows you to install and manage other people's packages, or like, you know, programs or whatever you want to call them, and so you can use them in your projects. So it's pretty handy to have.
And Node is a JavaScript package, right?
Yes, Node is like, well, yeah, I maybe package is the right word, or maybe it's not. It's like it is JavaScript, like it is. Yeah, it just like allows you to run JavaScript in the terminal, cool. I guess. It's like you could just type Node right now. Now you're like running JavaScript. Yeah, exactly.
Sweet.
And you could do like
calculator.
And you could do this, and this is like the same thing as, you know, running JavaScript in your browser in the console. If you've ever done that before, it's basically the same code. Of course, like depends on like, you know, what version of JavaScript you're using. But since we're on Node 16, it's probably like a relatively, you know, newer version. So yeah, I think, so get out of that. I think you just do Control-C a couple times, maybe. Yeah. Cool. And so one thing, so I did mention like the version is important, because depending on, you know, the project you're working on, it could have been built with a different version of Node, and since there are major version changes, there could be breaking changes. So a lot of times, like if you're working on several projects and they have different versions of Node, it can be kind of a headache, because you're like, oh, my computer's on 16 normally, but this project I want to work on is on 10. And like that could lead to problems when you install things, or you do various things that like try to start up their project. So one like super helpful package that somebody made is called NVM. There's like npm, Node, and there's NVM, which is Node Version Manager, and that's like going to help us basically like install different versions of Node, so we can just change them on the fly, and it's like incredibly useful.
Sweet.
So I'd say like let's install that. And I think the way we're going to do that is with Brew again. So if you do Brew Install Nvm.
And remind me, so npm is Node Package Manager. Already installed. Should we just reinstall it for the fun?
Yeah, just reinstall it. Guess we already had it.
So npm was Node Package Manager. Nvm, what? Remind me the V there.
That's the version. So Node version Manager.
Which refers to, hey, I've got 16, you have 16.1 in the future, someone else has 14.9. Let's make sure we're running the synchronized version.
Yep, exactly. So this output is actually sort of important. It's easy to miss, but if we read that, it says add the following to your bash profile on your desired shell, blah blah blah. So we have to do that. So why don't you copy and paste where it says export, and then through this loads bash completion, like next line. So keep going.
Got it. Get all this.
Yep. Get that, and then
run
it. Nope.
Did I run it?
So if you go back up and you read, I think it says, did you run it?
I copied and pasted it, but I don't think I ran it.
Okay. Well, I guess try it again.
Because doesn't this put it right in my... Doesn't that export statement put it there?
Yeah, it should. You can always check it by doing nano. If you do nano.bash profile. _ profile, yep.
Anaconda, nothing about Node.
See, that's why, I feel like it didn't add it. I mean, you could see if it works. You could do nvm-v.
When I go back up, there's no export statement there. So let me copy and paste this and make sure that I have that export statement. So I want to start at export this command and then this other command. Right click, copy.
Yeah, so I would like just actually copy and paste that into your bash profile.
Got it. So I think something was happening weird. Where'd it go? Just
no, do export to.
Copy. Now let's fire back up that nano .bash _ profile.
Yep. Yeah, and then at the bottom, just somewhere, paste her in. Yeah, and then exit. Save or root.
Ask me to save. Yes, I want to. Permission denied.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. I think you should do it. So exit again.
I need to like sudo in.
Yep, sudo in that guy.
Wild to get denied permission from your own computer.
I know, it's funny that it has those permissions set.
No, let's just look in there again. So now we go. Okay, and so that export statement should be in there. I wasn't interpreting export as something that you wanted to run in the terminal, not something that you wanted to be living in your bash profile.
I think this is sort of a guess, but I think when this gets run, it'll export it. So I also feel like it should be, and maybe you are running it, it's just not permanent. And when you put it in your bash profile, every time you start up your bash, it'll run it and export it, right?
Cool.
So which is probably why it was missing before, even though you had it installed.
Cool.
So do nvm-v. Cool. Great. And then so do nvm install 14.
14?
Yep. And so that should install version 14 of Node.
Nice. I got 16. We were happy.
Cool. I guess it was already installed. So do nvm list. And we can see all the versions of nvm or Node we have. Okay, so I must have just defaulted to 14. And I think now that we have installed nvm, that's the one we're using. But if you wanted to, of course, you could like install 12 or whatever. And then it's like as simple as just like doing nvm use and then the number.
And that's the version of NVM, not the version of Node, because previously Node was version 16, right? But that's Node, not NVM.
That's a good question. No, that's the version of Node. And I think what happened is when we installed NVM, we sort of overwrote our brew install, which is it's very confusing, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. But and it's actually probably likely that all we had to do is install NVM.
And then Node would have came with it. Got it. So now when I say Node-V, I get the 14.6.1, whereas previously I'd gotten 16. Interesting.
Yep. Yeah, so we probably actually just kind of duplicated our work. I think in theory all we had to do was install NVM, but probably good to kind of do both.
And it's weird to me, so correct my mental model, because I was expecting, we did NVM list. You're telling me, okay, we overwrote it. NVM list, I was expecting sort of 16 to be somewhere here, just not as the default. But it seems like 14 actually literally overrode, and now 16 is gone missing.
I think what's happening here is like there were two different brew packages, and so now our default package is NVM, which comes with 14 as a default. Okay. And so we're sort of like, those are like two different conflicting packages, I guess. Again, I'm sort of shooting in the dark here, but I think that's why 16 is not showing up. I would also maybe assume that if we uninstalled NVM, then all of a sudden you'd have 16 again. You know what I mean? Because that would be like the other one.
Yeah, that all makes sense.
If you wanted to, so just do NVM add NVM install 16, and we'll just add it. So then you have both.
Come on back, 16.
And then, so now I think you're on 16, so do Node-V. Nice. And now, if you ever wanted to do node list so we can see it.
Okay.
I think just, yeah.
It's not an option, it's
Oh, sorry, NVM list. My bad.
God, there's our friendly 16, and we got a pointer going to it.
Yep. And then so if you want to switch, you do node use 14, and then it'll just choose like the most recent 14 that you have installed.
Got it. So NVM. As we move forward and build together, which are we going to use and why?
Let's use 14 because 16 was like literally just released, and I would err on the side of using. So like if you go to the Node website, they have a chart that shows the different versions and their end of life and when they're released, and this like whole schedule of like when they should be used. And 14 is probably your safe bet at this moment in time, since 16 was like just released, and there's probably not a lot of packages that have been updated to like definitively be fine with 16. So even 14 is kind of like on the upper edge. Like I think 10 might have hit end of life, so like we wouldn't really want to be on 10, probably at least 12 or 14, and I would say probably 14 is a good shot for.
And should I now specify that we want 14? I'm bothered now by you saying that we're going to use 14 despite the arrow pointing to 16 when I do list.
Yep, so do NVM use 14.
Got it. We're coming home to 14.
And that should just so it just toggles it to 14 for you. So
got it. And then just
so yeah, that was a lot, but that's basically how to use NVM. And so like anytime you have like something that you need a different version of Node, you just NVM use and then that version. It's pretty slick.
Okay, awesome.
Let's see, so the next thing and the final thing that I think we're gonna do here is install a different, just to like add confusion to everything. We're gonna install a different package manager because I think it's like slightly better. And when I say that, I mean, so there's npm node package manager, which is the one we kind of like checked earlier. That's the one we're going to try to sort of replace, and we're going to replace that with something called yarn, and that's another package manager for JavaScript. And it was actually built by Facebook, which is, makes me have some sort of feelings, but that's okay. I think it's actually like, it was built to sort of like address some of the issues with npm at the time, which depending on who you talk to, might be like irrelevant now, but because npm has sort of improved their game and stuff, but I still think it's a sweet package manager and works really well.
Cool.
So
let's get it.
it's like slightly faster. No, ironically, we're installing with npm, so all you have to do is do npm install and then -g yarn, and the -g is like a global flag, so we're installing this globally on our computer, so we should be able to use yarn everywhere after you do this.
Awesome.
Cool. And now, since it's global, you should be able to do yarn -v. Hey. Okay, cool. And that's pretty much it. There is like, so okay, I guess it's not pretty much it. To like clarify, so yarn and npm are they're not technically interchangeable, but like a lot of the things that we do, that we will be doing, you could like use either npm or yarn. We just chose to use yarn. Okay. And a lot of them have even the same commands. Might be like small differences, but like.
And are we largely just going to use yarn from here on out, and I can kind of forget that I even own a copy of npm?
Yeah. I mean, depending on like what like libraries you install from, they'll probably like tell you like if you go somewhere and say like, okay, install this package with npm install blah. Usually you can just be like, okay, I'm gonna use yarn. Like you don't have to do that way. So yeah, you can basically forget about it, and essentially they're interchangeable in a lot of ways.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's pretty much. Oh, there is like so like yarn version 1 we're gonna use. If you went to their website, there actually is a version 2 out. But if you use that one, it makes them less interchangeable. And I'm not super sure like how many people are using version 2 at this point. So I think just to be safe, version 1 is like, we're just going to stick with what we installed, because I think that's the best thing to do.
Got it. I'm always comfortable a few inches away from the bleeding edge, so I like it.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, that's it. Cool.
Sweet.